So what's up, good people? It's your boy Charles Tank Harris coming at you. Sunday, I think it's April the 11th. I'm sitting here at the crib, going to do some work. But before I do some work, I wanted to make sure that I posted this video because the previous post on my Facebook page is a picture of my ex-wife Dana and my six children, my five daughters, Bria, Shelby, Kennedy, Zoe, and Sydney, and my namesake son, Charles Maurice Harris III, little Trey. And I saw that picture appear on my Facebook memory yesterday. It really just made me just tear up a little bit and get very emotional. It was also, I think, not if not yesterday, the day before was National Siblings Day. So I thought it was cool to see all six of my children in a picture because that never happens anymore. There are some sibling issues as well as some general family issues. And I wanted to take this opportunity to just talk about it, just to express it. I started back at the turn of the new year an accountability group with two brothers that I went to two different colleges to with. So I started my collegiate experience at Kutztown University of Pennsylvania and concluded my college experience at the great Temple University in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Made lifelong friends at both institutions, and of recent decided to start a group. We talk every morning at 6 a.m., every weekday at 6 a.m., about just what it is to be a man, a father, a black man, a husband, a ex-husband, a non-custodial parent. Just we discuss all of the trials and tribulations that come along with the point in life that we have reached. We share experiences, we vent, we argue, we laugh, we talk stuff, we do everything, and it's a great experience. One of our common struggles has been the fact that each of us has gone through or is going through a divorce. Each of us are estranged in some way from our children to some extent, and the struggles that come along with that. So, this space that we've created is not just what people would deem a safe space, but it's really a place where we work through a lot of things that we don't have a blueprint or roadmap to work through. And I'm not taking away from any other demographic, any other race, although I don't believe in race. I don't like to say that word, but because everybody else identifies and understands what I mean when I say race, I'll use race. Any other race of person, any other gender, any other marital status. I don't want to take away from anybody's plight. It seems so often when we want to narrow down and discuss our particular demographic, whoever the our is, that other demographics feel slighted in some way and want to stand up for themselves. Well, what about women? What about whites? What about gays? What about Christians? What about Muslims? I am such an inclusive person that when I'm talking about a specific demographic that I may be a part of, I don't mean any disrespect or deference to any other demographic. I'm just talking about this particular demographic. And the great thing about it, if we all think about it, is we all are a part of multiple demographics. So if we thought about it that way, if we tried not to get so defensive and protective and think about the fact that when we're talking about one of our demographics, that we could be excluding another demographic of which we're a part of, then maybe it wouldn't be so easy for us to feel threatened and defensive when we see someone talking about a specific demographic as if their demographic's not important. So right now, I am specifically talking about how that picture made me feel as a black father estranged from his children in some way, shape, or form. And for those of you who know me well and know my story, some of this will be review. For some of you who don't, it'll be new information. But I was married to the woman in that picture, Dana, for almost 17 years. We got married in June, I'm sorry, for almost 18 years. We got married in June of 1998, and our divorce finalized in March of 2016. And the oldest child in that picture, Bria, is my firstborn baby, who was 1 years old, 1 year old, if I'm saying that correctly, when I met Dana. So Dana has been in Bria's life almost since the inception and is viewed as a permanent fixture in Bria's life. So not in that picture is my niece, Jasmine. Jasmine is the exact same age as Bria, born on the same day, and is the daughter of Dana's younger sister, Joni. And Jasmine's always been like a daughter to me up until the point, I guess, when Dana and I divorced. And she also was in Puerto Rico with us, but wasn't in that picture. We took her to the airport before we shot that picture. So yeah, what I felt when I saw that picture, the first thing I thought of was siblings because it was National Siblings Day, I think, or the day before when I saw it. And I said, man, I wish that my children were closer. I wish that there wasn't such a divide amongst them. And I do understand that at any given moment in time, people feel different ways. And the way these girls feel, because normally it's the girls, like the boy, Trey, is so oblivious to all this, what's going on, just living his best life out here. But, there's a strong, strong beef between Bria and Shelby. And then there are minor beefs between Shelby and Sydney or Shelby and Kennedy. Zoe kind of doesn't get into anything with anybody for the most part. But everybody is living their own life. I saw something. So me and my accountability group that I referred to earlier, we try to guide our conversations around books. So when we first started the year, we were looking at Dr. Covey's 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Now we're looking at Don Miguel Ruiz's 4 Agreements. And I saw a clip of Don Miguel Ruiz talking about his second agreement, not taking anything personal. And he made reference to the fact that as individuals, we are all the star of our own movie. And everybody else that is in our movie plays a co-star down to extra role in our movie. And it was great to hear that and think about that and actually let that wash over me, because it makes a lot of what happens in my life palatable and tolerable. It makes it acceptable. It helps me to follow that agreement, to not take things personally. I think that we tend to, especially the closer the relationship is and the more we give to it, we tend to believe that we have a bigger role in someone else's movie than we have a right to feel as though we do. And I'd like to take this opportunity to apologize to my ex-wife, Dana, who gave me very, very, very great memories and times, and I will always love her for that. Gave me beautiful children, helped me raise my oldest daughter, and we had times that we laughed so hard and enjoyed each other's company and really felt as though it was she and I against the world at those moments. That when you get to a point where that all breaks down and you move on and you get divorced and you have a new wife or a new boyfriend and other things going on in your life, that you can get really wrapped up in the current and for pain protection sake, not dwell on the past and want to hold on to things that were good. And I know I'm really good at that. I'm really good at sheltering off whatever benefit I ever got from someone if I'm no longer getting that benefit. So I just want to say for the record and for anybody who's watching this that, I'll always love my ex-wife. What I have done in my mind is I have come to a conclusion that the woman that I loved is no longer with me, no longer with the world, and that this person walking around is a different person. And that allows me to see her without having to harbor the feelings of loss of the other person. I always tell people, in my opinion, that death is having someone who you love die is so much easier than divorce. Because when you have someone who died, no matter how much they meant to you, they are gone. And you have to physically accept that they're no longer there. You won't see them ever again. But divorce, you're going to bump into this person. And how do you go from this was the love of your life at one point to I don't even shake her hand when I see her. Like, not over some beef, just she's got some other dude and he don't want me shaking her hand, or I got some other woman and she doesn't want me shaking her hand. How do you go to that? The Deborah Cox RL song comes to mind, that video of We Can't Be Friends, how dare we act like we just met. But that's reality for a lot of divorced people. And reconciling those feelings is tough. It's tough for everybody, and everybody handles it differently. So when I think about my ex-wife, for Charles Tank Harris's sake and purposes, I think of her as a person that's locked in a time that I can't access anymore. So that version of Dana is no longer alive in my mind. And there's a new version of Dana, and she deserves respect, and she deserves appreciation for still taking good care of my children. But she's not my Dana. And as a result of that, I can process that as such and not have any animosity or bad will toward this Dana. That took a lot of work, though. I'll be honest. I was very much not the best version of myself coming out of that relationship and moving forward. I was very, as the word goes, very toxic when that relationship ended. And as such, it spilled over into my relationship with my kids. So here I am as a dad. And, if I'm being 100% honest, and I know my kids will most likely see this, I never really wanted to be a dad. And I want to clarify that as I say it. I didn't not want to be a dad. I think there's a difference between saying I didn't want something and making sure people understand I wasn't pursuing it, but I wasn't against it happening. I know a lot of men, young men, I mentor young men, they can't wait to be a husband and a dad. That was never my hustle. Never thought to myself, I can't wait to be a husband and a dad. I had dreams and goals, and being a husband and a dad was not amongst them. But when I got Bria's mother pregnant, I proposed marriage to her because I grew up without a dad around, and I never wanted that for my kids. So I proposed marriage to her, and she told me no. And she said she wanted the kid and not me. And that was cool. Her right. I fought like hell to be in Bria's life. And ironically, out of all my children, I feel like I have the best relationship with Bria. And there's a lot to that. That is my fault, as well, as I'll unload here. I thought this was going to be like a 3-minute video. This is crazy. So in any event, this is therapeutic for me, though. When that didn't work, and she moved away and took Bria with her, and I fought to be in Bria's life, and then I met Dana. It was love at first sight for me, although I couldn't appreciate it. But Dana was everything that I thought beautiful was. And just going through the point in my life where I didn't feel as though I had much to offer her, so I didn't pursue her. And she actually, pursued me to a certain extent, and we started dating, and, Shelby was conceived, our oldest. And there was a lot of stuff around that. That's a different video that I'm not going to go into here, but maybe one day I will, because I'm not against sharing. It'll make this video 3 days long if I went into it here. So I proposed marriage to Dana because, once again, if I could get my child to have this Norman Rockwell experience of the white picket fence and the home and the two parents in it, I wanted that. So Dana eventually said yes. She said no the first time too. I guess I am not a prize. So she said no the first time, yes the second time, and we were married. And Kennedy, Zoe, Sydney, and Trey came to follow, and thus this huge family. And I went from being a guy who grew up with very little and grew up with very low financial means to being what I would deem, and what a lot of other people would deem, to be a financial success. I started making low six figures 2 years out of college, and got up to like the $500,000 mark a few years after that, and was just rolling. Moved my family from the Northeast down to the greater Atlanta area, bought what I called a mansion, 8 bedrooms, 6 bathrooms, first class trips everywhere. That picture is a picture of the family returning from spring break in Puerto Rico back to Atlanta. And then as I was scrolling through pictures, I realized we went back to Puerto Rico in July. We used to just take big family vacations and go everywhere. And it was always like a first class flight and a 5-star hotel. I was just really doing it big back then. And everybody was happy. When I look at that picture, I see everybody happy. and I see my job as being done. And it's not to say that if you don't have the type of financial means to do 5-star vacations, you're not a strong man or a strong providing father. Just that for me, I made a choice to be the economic provider in my family, which is interesting because my second oldest daughter, me and Dana's oldest daughter, Shelby does not speak to me right now. And that's painful, but it's earned. So, I'm not her ideal example of what a father should be. And I can accept that. I make mistakes. I have made mistakes. I will continue to make mistakes. And there's just a huge disconnect between what I think our relationship should look like and what should be acceptable and what she feels as though is acceptable. And I love her enough to accept that until she feels as though I'm the dad I should be, she don't rock with me too hot. And that's cool. You have to love your children enough to appreciate when you and they disagree on certain topics. So my oldest daughter, Bria, I couldn't ask for a better relationship. We talk as friends, we talk as dad, daughter, we talk as business associates, we talk about everything. So she gives me validation that I've done something right. And Shelby is a constant reminder that I can always do better. And that's great. I think everybody needs both of those in their life. And my other kids fall on the spectrum between. So, navigating not being in Georgia with them. And I go to Georgia for the most part without fail once a month. And it costs me a lot of money to go. And I spend, anywhere from 4 to 8 days down there when I go. But it's still a visit. Dana has moved on. She has a new significant other. My kids see him as a father figure. And I know for a lot of men, I know when I talk on this call and when I talk to other African American males who are in my situation, that is a hard pill to swallow. And I have to always be transparent and honest and say it wasn't really that hard for me to swallow. When Bria's mother married, I established a very, very good relationship with her husband, and I thanked him for being a role model in Bria's life. And I vetted him. I made sure he knew who her dad was, and that I was that dude who would come down here and get to slapping on cats if it didn't go right. But I never had a problem. He did a great job with Bria, and Rodney, who is Dana's significant other, does a great job with my children. I've been blessed in both instances to have stepfather or stepfather figures in my children's life who do a great job. So with that being said, and the fact that I'm not necessarily dad of the year when it comes to being there for a child day in and day out, I am glad that someone else has stepped in a role that I probably wouldn't have fulfilled as well as my children would need. I always fall back on the financial side of things. One of my daughters called me the other day, not just because she had a need, but because her best friend had a need. And she's like, Daddy, can you give my best friend a job because she needs money? And I did. Like that's where I hang my hat. That's who I strive to be. So for me, I think I'm doing well, although I do realize that there are holes in my relationship with my children that I need to do better at. But I do walk away feeling as though, hey, when I was younger, I remember having a conversation with a former client of mine, very, very long time ago, very well-off woman who was one of my first brokerage clients back in 1999. And she said to me, we were talking about money, and she was saying that I worked too hard, is what she was saying, because I had just become a stockbroker with Smith Barney, but I was still bodyguarding her. And she's like, when do you spend time with your family? And I said, well, my wife's a stay-at-home mom. She got them kids. She does her thing. And she's like, no, you need to be there. The kids will never forget these formative years and this time. And, your time and your presence is so much more important than money. And, I love this woman, so I didn't want to just give her a knee-jerk response about how much I disagreed with her statement. I also didn't want to jump down her throat about how our perspectives were different because she always had a family and never knew poverty. So I told her, I said, well, I grew up without my father and without money. And now that I'm older and I know what fathers are and I know what money is, if I had a choice, I'd rather have grown up with the money. That's me. And, people can vilify me in the comments over that statement, but that's me. If I had my dad every day or my mom, if I had the exact same situation I grew up in with my mom and my siblings, but my mom was well off, I'd have took that every day of the week. The only shortcomings I felt that I had in my childhood come from my mom having to bust her butt so much, and how hurt it made her and how angry it made her and how tired it made her. And that shaped me to this day on my view on women and my personal insecurities, my sense of self-worth, and my perspective on relationships and women and men have all been shaped by what I saw as a middle son watching a black woman struggle to feed us. So if she would have been able to have all the financial wherewithal needed to take care of us at a higher level, my life would have been complete. I would have been navigated without the dad. But she disagreed, and we had a great conversation about it. I say that though, that has shaped me. My second oldest daughter, Shelby, we were trying to make it work, and I commend her because she harbors a lot of animosity and ill will and pain for what I have said and done to her and her mom throughout her existence. But she was trying to make it work. She doesn't live but 15 minutes from me. She's closest child in proximity. That's ironic, right? And so we were at dinner one night, and I could tell when it was going to be a good night and when it was going to be a bad night, and this was going to be a bad night. And she asked me, she said, "Do you think your only job is providing for us financially?" And I knew what answer she wanted. She wanted me to say, "No, baby, it isn't. And I could do a better job as being a better dad." But who I am wouldn't allow me to give her the answer she needed or wanted. Who I am made me give her the answer that I knew was my truth. And my answer was, "Well, no, Shell, I don't think that that's my only job, but I definitely think it's my primary job, and by a long stretch over the second job." And that started what proceeded to be a bad evening and a shortcut dinner, because she's hurt and she's looking for me to be better than I'm capable of being right now in that department. So, yeah, 22 minutes and some change later, I just wanted to tell you guys that, especially people in my demographic, black men who are middle aged now, who are struggling with their identity of who they are, who may have broken family now and never set out for this to be what it is. Never set out to have your kids in one area, you in another area. Never set out to be heartbroken or to have broken someone's heart. Never set out to not have answers that you thought at this point in life you should have. I would just say to you, it's not over. And you do have a choice every day at how you wish to proceed. And I think that if you can take a position, so I call the group in the morning an accountability group. If you could first start with being accountable, and being accountable doesn't mean you have all the answers and that you're perfect and that you're ready to turn it around that day, but it just means that you start with what you can control and what you have done. You start there before you look outward at all. If you could do that, if you could be accountable, and then if you can be understanding, if you can look at people and say they have their own movie that they're starring in, and my role is X, my role is here. Speaking of X, shout out and rest in peace, DMX. Love you, bruh. That you could say to yourself, "I'm not as important as I thought I was. I'm important, but I'm not as important." For them, they're trying to navigate their life story. So there's an app I keep on my phone, IMDb, the International Movie Database, I think it's called. And I use it from time to time. I used it yesterday to look up a movie and some cast members. And this analogy or metaphor, not sure which one it is, came to mind with this whole topic. When you look at IMDb and pick a movie, at the bottom after the description, it has the cast, and it has the cast from left to right. And at the far left is the star of the movie. And with each movement to the right is the co-star down to the extras. The role or the importance of that role in the movie starts to diminish the further to the right you go. And I was speaking with my wife about this the other day and telling her that after the morning accountability call with me and the brothers talked about was that in my children's life, so if each one of them has their own movie, I went from being the second picture on the IMDb database, second or third. I'm either second or their mom is second, and then I'm either third or vice versa. But I went from that second or third picture to like I'm the 16th picture now on the cast. Their mom is in front of me. Their mom's boyfriend may be in front of me. Their grandmother, their aunt, then their friends and their siblings. I'm probably 11 or 12. And it's nothing personal. It's just where I am right now because of life, because of where life has taken us. And that if I want to get closer or get back up to number two or three, that is in my control to a certain extent, that I could make more effort, that I could see them more, talk to them more, Zoom with them more, give them books that we read together, just share more life experiences with them. But that I get up every day and I don't choose to do that. That I get up every day and I choose to, make more money so that when they call me and say my best friend needs a job, I'm there to do that. That when it's time to go to college, I can pay tuition. That when they turn 16 and need a car, I can take them to the car dealership. That's the choice I make. And as such, it may have me viewed further to the right, but I have to be okay with that. And for the most part, I am. I get emotional because I'm a human being, as much as I like to think I'm devoid of emotion in some instances. I get emotional and I get to the point where times like yesterday occur. Divorce is hell. And I always tell people avoid it at all costs. I lost so much in my divorce. Besides for my ex-wife, my family, I lost very good friends. I lost my home. I lost my American Express Black Card. I had to file bankruptcy when I got divorced. And whereas I fought back and I'm financially earning more than I did when I got divorced, and I'm worth more than I was when I got divorced, it's not the same. Like, I had a innocence to me before I got divorced that's gone. I lost that. And, I have now a reality and a perspective that sometimes I don't want to have. Sometimes I wish I was still as innocent as I was before all of this happened. And, I have some shame as well. My divorce is a failure in my life at some point. And I know, people who love me or people who are going through their own experience and will want to rationalize things to themselves may comment when they see this and have their own positive spin on it. And that's great. I'm not telling you not to have it, but I'm telling you how I feel, and no cheering up or whatever's going to make that different. And those of you who know me know, I'm not crying while I'm saying this. I might shed a tear at some point. I don't know. I'm an emotional cat, but I'm not unhappy. Like I got a great life. I have a woman now who supports me and loves me in a way that I never thought was possible. Like no disrespect to Dana as my first wife, but I often say that I married Dana because it continued how I felt my mom treated me. Like I always felt like a necessary evil to my mom when I was growing up. I always felt like my mom loved my older brother more than me. I'm the middle kid, so I have a huge case of the middle child syndrome. I felt like she loved my older brother more. My younger brother was needy when we were younger. Love him as I do. Strong cat, but he had like serious eye issues and had to be operated on all the time, and he was quiet. So I felt like my older brother got attention because he was like the love of my mom's life. My younger brother got attention because he was the baby and he was needy, and it was just Tank will be okay. Tank will be fine. Don't worry about Tank. And I love that has made me the go-getter, overachiever, strong cat that I am. But if I'm being completely transparent and honest, I've always felt overlooked. And that's why I think I'm such an attention-seeking person now, because I've always felt overlooked growing up. And I felt as though my first wife picked me because the dude that she really wanted, either he didn't want her to the level she wanted him, or she deemed that he just wasn't going to be the kind of husband she wanted. She preferred him as a man, but not as a husband. And I was the safer, more steady pick to make. And that continued the way I had always felt as though I was viewed by the main woman in my life, which at that point was my mom. So I was going to take a new main woman into my life, which was my wife. And I felt she saw me the same way my mom saw me. It helped me continue this, mentality that I had on how I was to be received by someone. And that carried on for a very long time. And now I have a new wife, and I feel as though she treats me the 180-degree opposite of that. So if I married my first wife because she continued the poor treatment that I felt as though I deserved, I married my current wife because she treated me the way I wished my mom had always treated me, the way I wished I was special. I wish I was spoiled. It's amazing. I say something out my mouth and, oh, it would be nice if I had that. And the next day I have it. Like my wife is doting, attentive. She babies me and it annoys me sometimes because I'm a grown ass man. But she loves me and takes care of me in a way that, as a 51-year-old man soon, I'll be 51 in June, that I wished I had as a child. So, and even in my nickname of her, I call her Mama. Like, so it's there's some revealing truth in that relationship. So, and once again, no disrespect to my first wife at all. They were different wives because they're different people and there were different times in our lives. But my current wife is very nurturing, very much, thinks that I am the greatest thing in the world, that I am the king and that she is the queen and she is here to support the king and whatever I say goes. It's a very unique situation I'm not going to wish it on anybody else, but I do want to say for Black men who may think that it's not possible to get this from a Black woman, you're wrong. Black women are loving and nurturing and supportive. And if you make them feel as though they are secure and safe, they're 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 a miracle. They will give you more than you can even put on your own wish list. So I've seen that firsthand, and I want to commend our sisters for being that way. Women are incubators. Women, by design, you give them something small, and they will turn it into something big. Now, unfortunately, that works both ways. You give them something happy small, they'll give you something happy big. You get them a little grief, they'll turn it into hell for you. So be careful. But there's a lot of responsibility that comes with being a Black man. And if you find a Black woman who will ride with you and support you, you found the best teammates you could possibly have if you're man enough to lead that team. So if you're not getting that, go back to what I said about accountability and make sure you're right in of yourself to lead. So don't necessarily listen to that cat that's bashing women and telling them that high value men, blah, blah. I don't know what that fool is talking about. But I'm an alpha male. And, at the root and the core of every alpha male is that prowess of, can you beat my ass? And I look at that cat on the camera and I don't think he beat nobody ass. But then, for anybody who knows me, I'm very, very much educated, worldly experience, things of that nature. I make a good living. So I don't have to go to my most basic primal state, but I can. Don't let the glasses fool you. And I think that any man, any self-respecting man, wouldn't treat sisters like I hear them being treated when he's talking to them. But I don't want to slide down that slippery hole scope. That probably wasn't the right terminology to use. So in any event, I'm going to call it a day here because I wanted to share with you guys more than I could type, more than I thought I would say about that picture of what my family looked like at one point, because I don't have that. I don't think I could recreate that picture. I can't call them up and say, hey, let's take a picture like the one we took on April 10th, 2011. I know Shelby's most likely not going to show up. Dana may or may not come. It's just, it's just not that anymore. And that's hard. That's hard to accept. I know when I'm talking to my brothers in the morning, that's hard, that the reality that they thought would always be their reality is no longer their reality. So with that being said, I'm going to sign off. I wish you all a great day. I hope this helped somebody. It definitely helped me to get it out. And I'll be able to go back to this video and look at where I was today and where I was able to be in case I fall backwards or progress forward. I'll be able to have some capturing of how I felt in this moment, which is very, very important. So I want to say thank you. I want you all to have a great day on purpose and continue on loving life and loving yourselves and being a blessing to everyone. Thanks. Bye.